Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network,
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
It is 5/19 or May the 19th, and if you live in the world of Dr. Date the Word Carson, that means you're thinking about, I know you were thinking about Ephesians 5:19, weren't you? Like, speak to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. And so that being, the verse of the day, the question of the day here on Truth Talk Live, and we would love your insight. And how you see this is, as obviously songs touch hearts. Like if you've ever done a devotional in a nursing home, and I've done for years and years, right? You start singing how great thou art, and that person over there with Alzheimer's hasn't said a word for 2 years, all of a sudden just breaks out, then sings my soul, right? It's in there. It touches things. Yeah. And so as you think about that, when did God grab you in a song, or what melody?
What a
can
question,
you not right?
Robbie.
Like when did he grab? You were singing it, and all of a sudden, I never knew that's what. But he just showed you. He sang it to you himself, and maybe you had to pull over on the side of the road, or maybe you broke down in church, or however it worked. Do you remember that moment? Do you remember that verse? It's something spectacular, Doc, and you brought in big guns today for us to help.
Yeah. Well, this verse just speaks volumes to me because Ephesians 5:18 says, "Be filled with the Spirit." Okay,
Right.
So then comes this next statement, and I think it was Chuck Swindoll that made the statement: "A Spirit-filled believer will be a singing believer." And if you find a singing believer, you're going to find somebody who's got the Spirit of God just flowing out of them. They're so excited. And then comes the truth. We ought to be singing these songs in our heart to the Lord. He loves to hear singing. God sings himself. And so...
how does that work? The number to call in and share, and we want you to.
Yeah.
866-348-7884. Again, we want you to call in. When did that song hit you right? Man. 866-348-7884. And
we've got Mark Ivy from Jacksonville, Florida.
So, Mark, you're on Truth Talk Live. Welcome.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Excited to hear what you have, because I understand you have quite the song.
Yeah, I'm a worship pastor. I serve a large church here in the Jacksonville area, and so our church is both traditional and contemporary, and so I don't really kind of get into I don't buy into the style of stuff. But I remember when my dad was sick and passing away, I remember being in his hospital room and singing that old hymn, "I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you." Because as we sing to the Lord, sometimes the hardest thing for us to do is to sing when times are rough and when things are sad. But it's what God calls us to do. He's an ever-present help in time of trouble. And so in that moment, I just remember as I'm in the hospital room looking at my father, that this was a perfect time to worship the Lord and thank God for not only his life, but his influence.
That's such a wonderful memory. And as you said that, it's funny, Doc, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I was the pastor of a church that had an extremely heated deacon meeting, if you could possibly imagine such a thing.
I can't imagine that.
And it had been a difficult night for everybody involved. And for whatever reason, they just turned to me and they said, Pastor, could you close us in prayer? And God hit me between the eyes, sing this. I love you, Lord. And I lift my voice to worship you.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're talking about, Mark. And, it's a moment that I actually will never, ever, ever forget. Because there in the midst of all the shenanigans, there he was. And that's what we were there to do. And that music, kind of brought that spirit. And I could see what looked like, difficult stuff coming together. And it was like, I didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it. It was a perfect example of doing that. But also in that situation with losing your father. And I certainly have been down that road, and that's painful.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think oftentimes when we think of praise and we think of worship, I think we think in when things are going well, and when things seem to be aligned, and when things seem to be, hey, I'm going to praise. Hey, I got a raise, so let's praise the Lord. But it's in those times of trouble, and those times of fear, and it's in those times of worry, and those times of anxiousness. I mean, we're in a culture today that's filled with anxiety. It's in those times that we ought to be worshiping the Lord. And you see that all throughout, the Hebrew hymn book and Psalms, where David is calling upon the Lord in times of trouble and in times of need, and the Lord is there. He's ever present.
The hymn writer put the song together, Does Jesus Care? And First Peter 5:7, cast your burdens upon the Lord, for he cares for you. But the devil says that's one of God's biggest lies. And that hymn writer put that song together when my soul is filled with grief. And I cry the whole night through. Does he see? Does he care? And then comes that crescendo. Oh, yes, he cares. I know he cares. He cares for me in that darkest hour, that most painful moment. And then comes those other songs like what a friend we have in Jesus. And you begin to cast your burdens upon the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as a worship
even
leader,
in modern
Mark,
day worship. Sir?
Yeah, as a worship leader, you're picking songs out. I'm just curious, do you think on Sunday morning when you're leading that worship that you're putting songs in people's minds that they can be singing on Tuesday?
That's certainly the hope. And I don't want to overly speak on it or hyper spiritualize it, but yes, I mean that's the intent of what we do. It's not just to put together a great service for the day, but to build a monument for them to think back on for the week. Because as you know, Dwayne, not every day is a good day.
That's right.
Not every day. This world is full of worries and full of woes, and when I'm picking songs, a lot of times I will pick a song that has a simple melody, and the reason I do that is because they're easier to remember. George Yance, who was the bass singer for the Cathedrals, I know that you remember that man. And
Yes.
He used to say, you knew when a good song was a good song is when the song ended and you were still humming the melody.
There you go.
That's how you know it's a good song. And so for me, and it's not true 100% of the time. I don't want to hyper spiritualize it, but when we are introducing songs and getting songs into the heart of our people, a simple melody is really, really helpful. And you can see that, like Chris Tomlin, like How Great Is Our God, those types of songs. Those are songs that are now modern day hymns because they're simple.
Well, Mark, I hate to jump in, but we got to go to a break.
Because we got music.
We have music. Right. We have Bucksmith. We got Bucksmith, all sorts of people coming. We need your calls at 866-348-7884.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Welcome back to True Talk Live. Today is 5/19, which means because we're with Dr. Date the Word, we're thinking about Ephesians 5:19 and of course speaking to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your hearts. And when did God make that melody in your heart? Maybe was something happened Sunday morning. Maybe it came through the radio. We don't know, but we would love to hear your story. 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884. We still have Mark, and Mark's going to stay on with us, but we got Buxman is in Dayton, Ohio. So Buxman, you're on True Talk Live.
Hey, dear Robbie and Dr. Carson, always a great blessing when you two are together, and I love it when Dr. Carson has a Date the Word verse for us. And I'll tell you what, Robbie, being a busman, B-U-S-K, that means I street perform. I put out a tip jar, and I like to make people happy by playing my music on a street corner for free. I used to play, in bands and stuff back in the day. And
really? What do you play?
I'm a guitar and a vocalist.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you know Robbie's a guitarist and vocalist?
I heard that, Dr. Carson. I heard about that. So we're going to have to get together at that
boot camp in Dayton, yeah.
Yeah, the Truth. I call him Truth Talk Mike. We're going to try to hook up and come down and see you guys. But there was this one particular time that I was playing out in front of the Dayton fireworks on a July 4th weekend, and it attracts a whole bunch of people. And the Dayton Dragons were playing, and it was just a really cool feel. And I was down there with my 3-string cigar box guitar playing music. When all of a sudden now this wasn't a spiritual song, but God showed up. I was playing a well-known song called Wagon Wheel by the Old Crow Medicine Show on my 3-string cigar box guitar, guys. Well, all of a sudden, this tiny little, very elderly couple walks up, and I am not kidding you, brothers. This little couple just started dancing like nobody's business. And as the people were passing by this little couple, probably in their, at least their 70s, late 70s, if not 80s, possibly beyond, dancing the old school to the little beat that I had put down. And all of a sudden, you guys, these other couples started dancing right along with them. And by the time I got done with this song, Robbie, and the whole place was either dancing or watching the dancers. And this little couple outdanced some of the younger people. They couldn't keep up with these little folks. And finally, when I ended the song, I pointed to him and I brought all the attention to him, and I said, "Can we give it up for our number one dancers?" And everybody just erupted in applause. And it was so good. And the dear sir, he tipped his hat to me, and the little lady just bowed to me, and then they just moved along the way real slow. And I am not kidding you, Dr. Carson and Robbie. It was the most awesome time that I've seen on the street playing music. So God does have a special magic, if you will, to quote C.S. Lewis, about music. Yeah. So I say engage in it whenever you can. And that's my story there, Robbie. And I'm sticking to it.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, I have to claim ignorance. I don't know what a 3-string cigar box guitar is. Do you, Doc?
Yes.
You do know what that is?
Yeah.
I love you, Doc Carson.
But to explain, I just know what it is.
Yes. So what it is, guys, it's an actual cigar box that used to have cigars in it. And my dear friend Bruce here in Dayton, he actually makes them from scratch. He takes a piece of wood, turns it into the guitar neck, and then he uses the body of the guitar. It was an old cigar box, and they used to build these back in the Depression era and even earlier when men didn't have money. People didn't have money, so they would just start up whatever they could find and turn an instrument out of it.
And so this 3 strings, what 3 strings are they?
That's an excellent question, my good friend. If you're familiar with dulcimers,
right,
they are tuned to an open tuning, it's G, D, G. Your three strings are
Right,
G,
right.
and then a D, and then an octave G again. That's your open tuning for your standard cigar box three-string tuning. So you lay your fingers across it, Robbie, and even you can play a guitar. Well, you already said that you couldn't. I knew that you could. But Dr. Carson, you can play. You learn the three chords because all it takes is to.
Well, if nothing else, I've learned about that. I've learned, and I hear Mark laughing. Like, Mark, you knew what this was too?
I did, yeah. Of course, I grew up in Georgia, so there were several cigar box guitars around my.
You knew what it was too, Nick.
I knew exactly what it was.
Nick knew what it was,
I
but
feel
Robbie
like I
didn't know.
I'm just plain ignorant.
And here's what I love: Buxman led people to do Ecclesiastes 3:4.
Amen, Doc Carson.
It was March the 4th. They were marching forth.
It was a time to dance. It was a time to dance, and dancing is so biblical.
Dancing, guys, it was wonderful.
Now, Mark, it wasn't biblical or legal to dance at Liberty, but there were some songs you sang that we wanted to dance to the Lord. I'm telling you.
That's right. That's right. Dancing leads to sin is what they told us. But we didn't really believe it.
I
think that's beautiful. Buxman, what a story, man. You made I'm going to be looking up a cigar box.
Cigar box, three-string cigar box.
You'll love it, Robbie. And watch out, if you get bit by that bug, you'll own 5 of them like I do.
Well, you have an amazing day, my friend. And so, Mark, I know you wanted to, you had another nugget for us you wanted to share. I'm anxious to hear.
Tell us more about that humming, because I think Robbie's got something to tell you about that humming.
Well, no, it was just the entire idea is if you can, and I used to study for tests this way, by the way, which is kind of weird as a musician. It's like if I had a hard time memorizing facts, I would put a melody to it to help me memorize it better, because it was more. I was engaging more than my mind. Now I was engaging my voice, and I was engaging another sense of the senses. It's the same reason that we do things in worship. It's like we don't just sing a song, but now we'll put lyrics on a screen, or we'll change the lights in the room. What we're doing is we're not manipulating anything, but we're appealing to more than just the one sense, and maybe to all 5 senses. If there was a smell that I could put in the room that would help people worship, I would do it. You know what I mean? And so, but the simplicity of a song, by putting a simple melody into it, helps people get that deep into their heart and into their mind and really into their soul, and that way they can sing it throughout the week.
Well, I love your story, Doc. You got to tell us about the tractor hum.
Well, Mark, you brought up that thought about the humming, and it reminded me about a time with my dad. He's out plowing a field. Now, we're talking about 200-300 yards away from their house, but over the sound of the engine, we could hear my dad whistling, humming the tune to Standing on the Promises that we had sung on Sunday morning. And my mom, I still remember her, we were there on the front porch, and she said, I don't understand how sound works, that there's that tractor, yet coming over the sound of the tractor is your dad humming Standing on the Promises. Now, I look back and I'm just amazed. Again, he was singing Standing on the Promises.
It was a humdinger. And he was probably plowing on the promises.
It was, Mark, Robbie's been waiting to drop that on you and me. A humdinger.
He had that loaded, ready to fire.
We need your calls. 866-348-7884. 866-34-TRUTH. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Truth Talk Live. It is the May the 19th, which makes it 5:19 in Dr. Date the Word world.
Yep.
And Ephesians 5:19, as we've been talking about this hour. Speak to one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. And it's fascinating. If you look at the word psalm in Hebrew, you're going to find some beautiful, amazing things. At the root of the word has to do with singing, but the actual word is bigger than that. It's bigger than just singing. It has to do with actually making a melody, but also making that in a rhythm, making that melody in a meter, like a poem, or that kind of thing. And it's fascinating to me, really, really is fascinating. The very first one we know about is Psalm 3, which David wrote when he was running from his, not that he didn't write the other ones way before that one, but as far as in the canon of Scripture, the first one is in Psalm 3, and he wrote that. He was singing when he was going through one of the worst things anybody could ever imagine in all the world. He is at least putting this down as a psalm right there in a beautiful thing. And so maybe you can think of a time in your own life when, man, all of a sudden God put a song in your heart when you just did not see that coming because things were just very, very difficult. But it's fascinating, as we've talked about all hour, that songs have to do with your heart. And Doc was talking about how, during the time of Schoolhouse Rock, the kids' school test scores went through the roof.
Because Mark was mentioning that about singing those songs with those melodies, they become more memorable. And back then, conjunction, junction, what's your function? And all of a sudden, everybody's learning how to do English because of a little advertisement during Saturday morning cartoons.
So, Mark, this is a fascinating aspect of why worship is such an integral part of what we do on a regular basis, not just Sunday morning.
Not just Sunday morning. Talk to us, Mark. What are you thinking?
Well, I was just thinking about this the other day. In my role, I have a small little staff, but I also deal with interns, and I'm trying to help these guys and girls who want to develop, a ministry inside of worship and be a part of it. I'm trying to get them to understand the importance of it. It's not just a job, but God doesn't say things in His Word by accident. Like everything is really intentional, and if you'll just think about it, you'll understand it. Hebrews 13:15. Through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise. And I think singing, when we say God sings over us, I think we need to understand that singing is not natural. We do it, but it's not natural. It takes effort. It takes thought. It takes intention. We talk to one another. That's natural. But to sing, boy, that means I gotta do something a little different here, and I gotta almost put myself out there in order to do that. Because as you know, there are people who are really talented at singing, and then there's other people that's not the gift that God gives them. However, it doesn't take away the mandate to worship. And so as we sing, what we're really saying is, hey, I'm putting my life, I'm putting my voice, I'm putting my perspective on the altar, and I'm now going to pursue Jesus, and I'm going to sing to Him because of the effort that it takes in order for me to worship Him. And I just think that there's something really special and really powerful, whether you know how to sing or you don't know how to sing. It's the fact that you sing is what is so powerful in that, in obediently worshiping the Lord.
I love that, Mark. Oh, my goodness. Now, Robbie, Mark at one time was with me at Liberty, and he led singing, and oh, my goodness, it was so wonderful because because his heart was more on display, and he's got great talent, but his heart.
Right.
And there were times I was preaching, and I'd call him up, and I don't know whether it was in North Carolina or Georgia, where I said, Mark, I need you to come and sing for me before I speak in chapel. But I will tell this, based on what you just said there, that I've learned from you, Mark, because I had to work through some things, because there was that time you told me, hey, Dwayne, I want you to sing solo. And I said, you do? You want me to sing solo? And you said, solo, nobody could hear you.
I understand that. I've heard you sing, and I am in complete understanding. But nonetheless, I love his heart. You know,
I do want to sing from my heart, and so I think you've talked to us, quite a few of our listeners right now who, like me, it is an effort to sing. I know that the moment I start singing, other people are like, "Oh, I just wish he'd stop," and so I have to sing in my heart. I have to sing to the Lord, but it takes effort, and that's so good what you just shared.
And that childlike.
Well, and I also think it's really true of this, and just think about this. God in His Word doesn't say make an on-pitch song to the Lord. He says make a joyful song. You know what I mean? And so it's not about the ability. So don't miss this. It's not about your ability. It's always about your heart.
Yes.
And which is what it says in there. Yeah.
And if you do that, if you put your worship into that perspective, God's not looking at your ability, although He can use it. God's looking at your heart.
Absolutely, and your availability. So I know you've got a story out there, and yet we've touched something, and so we would love to hear from you. The number to call in and share, 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884. We would love to hear from you. It's a fascinating thing. I don't know if you knew this. John Eldredge, who wrote the book Wild at Heart and many other amazing books, I once heard him speak on the process that he used to write. And he said, before I ever begin to write a book, I have to have a song. That I play that song throughout the process of writing, but that it's a song, right? Yeah. And as he was sharing that, I realized that for years and years and years, and Nick actually knows this, I do my music for the Christian Car Guy Show always before, and so I have that music playing in my head of what the show's about, and it's critical to my heart that as I write sermon, all that, I always have some kind of a music that is speaking to me, or God singing over me. I don't know. I love the way you put that, Mark. It's gorgeous, but there's some part of that speaks to our hearts that really gives me this, I don't know what it is. It's a sense of like I'm on track or I'm not on track.
Well, you look at athletes, athletic events, they have certain songs. And Mark, you may
especially
remember
baseball.
This. Steve Green, may all who come behind us find us faithful. And every time, Robbie, I would go to put together a sermon, that would be the song I would listen to before I started working on my sermon. And then as I was driving to the campus to preach, that was a song I was listening to. I wanted to have, Lord, I want to be found faithful before you, and all who come behind me now, then they'll be living faithful lives. Got to have those songs, yes.
Yeah, and so I think it's beautiful that you guys had that combination of you and Mark when you were at Liberty. Mark, do you have that now with your pastor there at the church? Or that's synchronized somehow?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, again, there are things that some pastors are really dialed into the music. That's their personality type. Other pastors are really more, I would say, more intellectual. And so they're, like at our church specifically, we'll take some personality tests. Like, I don't know what all the companies are, but like the Berkman test or whatever else, you can kind of see where your leanings are. Like my pastor, my senior pastor, who deeply loves me and cares for me, he's probably a negative on music. Like music does not have deep impact into his life. Now, he respects it, he honors it, he understands it, but it's just like, give me a good book. I'm not gonna sit in my car and listen to a radio. You know what I mean? It's just not or music on the radio. And that can be challenging, but it's also freeing. And he tells me this. He goes, Mark, and we meet every week and we talk about the worship service and we talk about what I'm going to do and what he's preaching on. But he said this to me years ago. He said, Mark, he goes, I'm your pastor, and you can do whatever you want to do in our worship services. I trust you. I only have one request. And I said, what's that? He goes, make sure it works. And I thought,
I love it.
Well, that's freeing and convicting all in the same breath.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I have to make sure that what I pick and what I do and how we operate, I have to make sure that it works. And I'm not creating problems for him. And it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful to see how God has moved. And again, I said earlier, I've got a service at our church that is more traditional. I've got a service at our church that is far more contemporary, and we have multiple campuses at our church. And so I don't really get into the style of worship argument with people, because I don't care how you worship. As your worship pastor, I care that you worship.
Yes.
And so if we can have that mentality with our people, then whether they're singing a Steve Green song like Dwayne said, or Standing on the Promises, or they're singing Trusting God, I want people to worship the Lord with authenticity and with power.
That's beautiful. Well, we got Mike is in Dayton, Ohio.
And Mark, if you need to go, thank you for joining us today.
Amazing.
Boy, you have really added to this show.
Beautiful, beautiful. So,
thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate the time, guys.
Same here. God bless. So, Mike, what say you? Truth Talk Live, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I was a real quick question. I was hoping Mark would stay on, but that's okay. Has it happened to you guys when you wake up in the morning singing a song?
Yes.
It happened. It's funny because I called me this morning, Mike, and because I led worship on Sunday, I woke up singing In Christ Alone. I mean, I was singing it when I woke up, and it's amazing. You mentioned the same thing this morning. I love it. I'm dying to hear the rest of that, Mike, when we come back. As you can hear the music, we're going to go to a break. Yeah. But, oh, yes, that, I think, mission accomplished. If God puts that to the point where you wake up to it, because it's a beautiful thing to wake up to, isn't it, Mike? We'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
You call us with your stories, 866-348-7884.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Truth Talk Live. Today is May the 19th, which means from a Date the Word standpoint, if you've listened to that on the Truth Network, and we hope you enjoy that, it is Ephesians 5:19, which is speak to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Absolutely beautiful. And I hate we lost Mike somehow. I hope he'll call back, because I didn't get to hear what he was going to share about waking up with a song.
What song does he wake up to?
I want to hear the song. We want to know what it is. 86. We want to know from you. 866. What is that song? Because I love to get those melodies, just as like you were talking about your dad standing on the promises. Man, I start thinking about it. Like 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884, and I know Rich had called from Troy. If he can call back, whatever. We had callers, but unfortunately, we don't know what happened to the phone system. But try again.
Yes, please.
We'll get it. 866-348-7884.
And then we'll all go home singing.
So, Doc, did you wake up with a song this morning, especially you, of all people, on 519?
Well, I woke up with How Great Thou Art.
Did you really?
I don't know exactly why for this date, but there's just something about that song. And I did hear Chris Tomlin this past Sunday when they had the big event there in D.C. I was watching it, And that was one of his songs, was "How Great Is Our God." And some of them have taken "How Great Thou Art" and put with it that praise and worship song. And to wake up to a thought of just how great is our God. And when you think about, when you consider, and that's how great thou art starts, when I consider, and you consider the greatness of God and all the things that he does, whoo, I don't want the only time "How Great Thou Art" being sung around me is when I'm in a casket.
Well, you know what happened to me? Number one, we used that song in worship on Sunday too. In fact, it was the first song we sang. But fascinatingly, you heard me talk about a couple of weeks ago, God was working on me and fear of the Lord kind of thing. And I was looking at this verse where it talks about God being great and mighty and awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as I was looking at the word awesome, all of a sudden, it started to thunder. And it wasn't a regular thunder. It was the thunder that went on and on and on. Like, it just didn't go boom. It went ba-boom, 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 boom, boom, like that. And I was describing that at my Bible study Thursday morning. And Harold Dyer sitting next to me, one of my dear friends, looks at me and he goes, "Wait, Robbie, you know that in the song." He said, "I hear the rolling thunder." And he recalled He recalled he was in Taos, New Mexico, where he said the thunder was coming down the mountain and it was rolling down and it was like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And as he did that, every time I sang that in "How Great Thou Art" this weekend, I was like, man, I hear the rolling thunder. It's so beautiful. So we do have Mike back. Thank goodness. Mike, and we need Rich back. So, Mike, what song do you wake up to? We got to know.
Well, it was a contemporary song by Ann Wilson, I think it is. I looked it up. I hope that's right. And it says, "My Jesus, Jesus." I don't know. Don't ask me to sing it. I'm not that good at singing. Please.
Well, we just need a little melody. "My Jesus, my Jesus." Ann Wilson.
Something like that.
My Jesus,
I don't know.
thee.
It's it's a newer song from our church, and and they're a contemporary song, and it really hit my heart. And obviously, I woke up in the morning singing it. But I wish I knew more of what it was singing. But it was more like the words Jesus. Yeah,
well,
over and over.
That's
again.
the title, "My Jesus."
Yeah. My
Ann
Jesus.
Wilson.
Are you past the point of weary? Is your burden weighing heavy? Is it all too much to carry? Let me tell you about my Jesus. I know how that goes.
Yes.
Let me tell you about my Jesus is exactly I can hear you say.
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah, let me tell you about my Jesus. Yeah,
it's got a real cool melody to it, and let me tell you about my Jesus. Right? Is that sound?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Which,
I woke up to that the other day, and my wife says, "What are you singing?" I said, "Well, a song." She says, "Can you stop?"
Go back to singing it in your heart.
Yeah, exactly. And it was on my mind all day that day, so it was really good. It was yesterday or 2 days ago that it happened, but, yesterday went by so fast. But anyways, it was really good. You know how God just lays it on your heart and a song like that, and then you just praise God all day with it. That's awesome, isn't it?
And, when we look at singing, Psalms 40 talks about when we get saved, he puts a new song in our heart. And I think each one of us, as God not only has other people singing songs for us to then be able to sing, if we're in tune to the Lord, he'll give us things to sing to him that's only for us to sing. Now, I don't know, I may be way out there, but I think about the new songs, and every now and then I'll sing something that I'll sing it where my wife can hear it, and she's like, every now and then goes, "That's not bad." But it's only me
Well, I tell you,
and the Lord.
You just don't know. You meet somebody and you might think, like, Nikita Koloff, right?
Yes.
The Russian Nightmare. And you
Now
may
the
have heard
devil's worst nightmare.
You might have heard him on the radio many times. You talk about a man that can worship. And because I've been in service, like, oh my goodness. And of course, his daughter is a phenomenal Christian artist, by the way, very well known in Nashville. Unbelievable. But Nikita himself, he will dance like, oh my goodness, you better get ready. As he will get a bunch of people worshiping. It's something to see. But again, it's just, to some extent, worship is another way that we can grow in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That, I can grow in the scriptures, I can grow in prayer, but I can also grow in really understanding worship. And I don't know if you know this, Doc, but last year, not this year, but last year, my word of the year was worship.
Mm-hmm.
And what God taught me in that, I'll never forget, was you are worshiping with me, not just for me. Right? That you're worshiping with Jesus to the Father. You're worshiping with the Holy Spirit to the Father, but you're also worshiping with the Father to Jesus, and you're also worshiping with the Father and Jesus to the Holy Spirit. In other words, this is a joint effort that really turned my head around to some extent to say, how fun is this? Because it's just like in the Lord's Prayer. It's our Father.
Our Father.
And
it's a together thing.
Right.
And it's not one angel or seraphim, but the angels singing, holy, holy, holy. And I remember the first time that I connected the hymn to the scriptures,
right,
realizing this is what we're going to be doing in heaven, crying out, holy, 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 worthy is the Lamb.
So, Mike, respond to that.
Worthy is the Lamb. It gives you visions about, when you remember a song and you remember the time that you're singing it, and then you like there was a couple songs in boot camp and they came across the radio the other day, and I just remember that time with us worshiping God and getting closer to God, because those songs just brings back memories. You know what I mean? And,
I can almost tell you what the songs were. Like, "Remind Me Who I Am," right, by Jason Gray.
Yeah, right.
We do a lot on the new name there, and so that idea of Jason Gray's song is "Remind Me Who I Am," or "I Run to the Father" is another one that we use.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one was a really good one. Yeah, "Run to the Father." Yeah, I love that one too. And when I hear it on the radio, it just brings back those thoughts of what I needed to know, how much God loves me. And, that's awesome,
When I was growing up, we sang from the hymnal, and we did have kind of a different type of hymnal that had maybe a little bit more upbeat song to it, but everything was pretty much out of a hymnal. And when I went into ministry, I ended up in New York City, and I'm at a church that they sang the hymn. They sang the Psalms. And this guy had a guitar, Tom Harris, and he sang Psalms 25. And started out with verse 1, "Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me." And I never knew that you could take these songs, these hymns, and turn them into psalms. And "I will call upon the Lord," and songs like that. And that changed my approach. Here's Ephesians 5:19 telling me, sing these psalms, not just songs, but psalms. And then it sticks in your soul, like Mark said. It's just something about that rhythm sticks in your soul.
And the meter that it was written in, it's absolutely beautiful. Well, wow, time goes by fast, doesn't it?
This is on datetheword.com if people want to read the devotional on Ephesians 5:19.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I hope that we will all be singing tonight so we can wake up with a song, Mike.
Yes.
And with, let me tell you about my Jesus. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.